Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to be working on a lever drag reel. It's a big one. It's a Boss Fury, and this one was sent in from our friend from Massachusetts. He sent me 4 of these, and a little business card with it. He's a captain, and might as well pull out the business card. This is he was running out of the Constitution Marina in Brookline, which is a suburb of Boston. And this is Captain Paul Diggins from the Real Pursuit. Well, he sent in a couple of these, and they are the Boss Fury 600. It's by Accurate. Accurate is a U.S. Based company based in California, and this one is proudly made in the USA. A lot of folks have seen the Accurate frames for some conversion kits. Well, this is their lever drag reel. We did one just a little while ago. We did the Accurate Valiant, and this one is the bigger version, and it's a saltwater reel, and I'm sure that Captain Paul is using that for trolling out on the either in the Cape or wherever in Boston he's going to be doing his fishing. Well, we want to get started. I love Accurate reels. They are so simple to work on, and they're not intimidating at all. I think they have one of the best release systems in terms of the lever drag, in terms of the ramp setup for that, and we'll show you all of that as we get going with this particular reel. As we get going, you'll notice I'm wearing a protective glove on my hand. I have a parts tray, and you need a couple of things for this. You need a Torx screwdriver bit. I believe it's the Torx number 7. You need an Allen key. I believe it's 1/8 of an inch on the Allen key. This one just happens to be a bit for an Allen key. You're going to need a micro screwdriver, and they recommend, when you go on the site, they recommend an adjustable wrench for this. It's kind of an oddball one. It's not 14 millimeter, it's not 15 millimeter, it's somewhere in between, and it's not 9/16, it's not 5/8. I don't know what that bolt is, but the 15 millimeter is close enough, and so I'll be using that to take that nut off. Actually, I have a universal wrench here. We'll try that one. That one in the center there may be the one that fits. We'll go find out. Okay, let's show you how to take this apart, how to service it, how it's made, and how to get this one back to Captain Paul to go fishing. So you start by removing the preset adjuster. That comes off in a counterclockwise measure, and we'll just take that off. That simply unscrews, and put that into the parts tray. Now, a lot of folks get intimidated when they go into these drag lever arms about being the setup for them, how to get them back, and how to get it, make sure it's in free spool. And so pay attention as you take these off. But this one's pretty simple. It's pretty hard to mess up, but it can be messed up, so just be aware of it. So I'm taking out the preset key. I don't know exactly what they're calling this. I'll call it the preset key. On the back of that, there's 2 studs here, and those studs are going to ride on the low part of a ramp that's in the center here. You may or may not be able to see it, so we'll explain it to you. This ramp starts at a low point here and rises, and it does the same on this side. It'll start on a low point and rise up. So what's happening with the lever drag is it's rising up. It's actually pulling the spool this way, and it's engaging a clutch that you'll see in a little bit. It's engaging the clutch to put pressure onto the drag washer and to fully engage. It's all the way up on the top of the ramp. Why do I mention that? One, you may have taken this out. If you've taken that ramp out, you're going to notice that there's 2 flat sides that correspond with flat bumps in the lever arm itself, and if you don't seat them properly, this will be up too high. So just take a picture. I always recommend you take pictures. Let's see if we can clear this up a little bit. Take a picture and notice where your attachment is. The second thing you want to note as well is that in the free spool mode, right about here, it's sort of at 11 and 5, or 3 and 11, or 3 and 10. I'm not sure which one, but at any rate, notice where they are when you go to reinstall. Okay, this looks intimidating at the moment. If you don't know what you're doing, you want to take a small, I think this is 9/16 or something. No, it can't be 9/16, 9/32. Maybe you want to take a driver like this because you see there's a nut there, and maybe you want to wrench it. Do not wrench. You may also see that there's a snap ring clip underneath this nut, right? Do not take that off. That's only holding this lever wind arm on. It has nothing to do with the service at all. So please leave it as it is. If you've already taken it off, well, you know, you got to go put it back. But just be aware that this is not what you need to remove. Do not remove it. Okay, speaking of removing, let's remove the other parts then. So we have a Torx number 7, and we have a slightly bigger Allen key wrench. I think this one is not a Torx on this one, I don't believe. I have a little driver here that my son-in-law gave me, which is wonderful. He's in the airline maintenance business, and this one has been a wonder. So I have a small bit kit, and this is a small Allen key. Take that screw and put that into the parts tray. You do not want to go looking for these things at some future time, like when it's time to reinstall. All right, I'm going to take the one off of here as well. I like this because it has a little cross hatching on it. You don't have to turn the screwdriver. You can simply turn the ratchet part of this. Of course, you can handle it too if you want to do that. All right, and that's just curiosity. Oh, look at that. I had it and I didn't even know it. So I have a wrench here. It's available from mysticparts.com, and it has the common handles for most of the screws that you'll find out there. Shimano, Daiwa, Penn, Abu, and some of the others. Well, now we know that big one there fits the Accurate. But if you don't have that wrench, don't run out and buy it. If you don't have that wrench, simply go get an adjustable wrench. You only need to crack the nut a little bit and you can take it off. Taking it off. So let's go ahead and do that. While I'm doing that, I want to thank our first responders and essential personnel for all they're doing to keep us safe during the pandemic. Whether you're in healthcare or first aid or an EMT, or you're in fire and police and safety and everything else in between, I really do appreciate your efforts to keep us all safe and out of harm's way. To those of you in the medical fields, whether you're in long-term care facilities or hospital ERs or any of the like, thank you for everything you're doing to restore those to health that need to be restored, and to keep safe those that may be in there for other reasons. That takes the handle off. You noticed I rocked it. Most of the time I like to just use a star adjuster, but in this case it's not a star adjuster reel. Took that off, took this off. So let's take the 4 side plate screws out. That's where you need your Torx. This is just a cheap multi-bit set. It came from Harbor Freight. I don't think it cost me more than $7. It's a mess here right now. They've all fallen out, but it's simply that, and it has the driver in it. And the tools are not known for longevity, but you know what? When you're only using this tool once or twice, you don't need to go out and buy the most expensive setup for what you're doing. And I rarely use these Torx. I use these on this one, and I use them on the Shimano Stratix, where you need to take that little click mechanism off the axle shaft. And other than that, I don't use them much. Okay, so we've taken one of them out. You can leave these in at the risk of them falling out. They're fairly long screws. So I'm taking them out and putting them in the parts tray. We have 2 more to go here. Let's go ahead and do that. Well, that guy's loose and he's not falling out. So we'll just pay attention to it as we work later, and hopefully we won't find it dropping. Now you want to hold the plate to the frame because there's a spring in there and it wants to push it out. Okay, that's your oh, we're not done with that yet, are we? We just have a little bit of grease. All right, that'll pop it up. All right, now what you want to do is just pull everything out, and the spool usually comes out with it. In this case it didn't. Here's the inside of the frame. It's machined, I believe it's aluminum, single piece. There's nothing going on in there, and you'll notice it says do not oil, no oil. Okay, then we have our pinion gear that'll go in here for now, and we have our spool, and then we have the back of the assembly. So what you want to do when you're servicing these is you want to just make sure you get it clean. There's a lot of grease that's been put onto the back of the frame. I'm assuming somebody's probably just saying if salt water gets in there, this grease will kind of help protect the frame. It's an aluminum frame. You don't have to grease it. I notice it is greased, so we'll just kind of take the old stuff out just in case it gets dirty. This frame is very dry, so there's nothing really going on here, but it's a good opportunity when you have the frame off to go clean it up. You can put a drop of oil onto that click mechanism. If you notice that click mechanism was worn, you can replace it. It's got a plastic click ring as well. Both of these are replaceable. To replace the click tongue, you would knock that E-clip off and it'll pull up. Obviously the 2 screws here would be the answer for replacing the click ring. Okay, on the back of this then is your traditional setup for a lever drag reel. We have the through pin, which is going to sit in this this cavity here, and as I mentioned, as this mechanism or assembly comes, this is the part that you saw sticking through the lever drag. It's going to pull this forward in that direction. It's going to pull it that way, and you'll see underneath when we take this off that there's a pressure plate that it will engage in, and that pressure plate will put the tension onto the drag washer, and that will help to create that tension or that drag. 4 Phillips head screws. That's my micro screwdriver now, also available pretty much online and everywhere. You think I got this one from Harbor Freight as well, and I don't think I paid $6 or $7 maybe for the set. They're not expensive, and again, it's good to have them. You're going to need them in this particular application. I don't believe that a standard size Phillips head bit will fit in here. That's 3. I'm going to lay them on my table just to make sure they're all the same size. There's no reason to believe that they're not, but I just want to make sure. Just a habit that's a good habit to get into. All 4 of them are the same, so I'm going to pick them up, put those into my parts tray, just so I don't knock them off on the floor, because they will be hard to find. We can do 2 things now. We can push the axle shaft through, and you'll see the bearing assembly down here, and then we can take the faceplate off of this side, and this is your inner assembly. This is what I was talking about before. We have a spring that's going to belong in here. So let's go ahead and put that in there. That came out. Don't fear it. We have a drag washer. I'm just going to take this drag washer out so we can clean behind. And there's actually a bearing sitting in the cavity. We can poke it through there. Okay, first thing you want to do on a general service, clean that old grease out of there. Now this drag washer, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's very similar to a Penn HT100 drag washer. And this has been greased in the past, and I'm going to use some grease on it when I go to reinstall. But beautifully machined metal parts, you can see that throughout, and I think that's one of the reasons why Accurate is known for that. I believe this particular reel retails for about $250. I can't say with certainty, but I think it's about there. I'm going to dry off the pressure plate. Underneath here we have another bearing, so we're going to go ahead and oil that. We'll oil the one that's on the bench here. Notice we had the bearing shim come off of that. There's another shim on the other side of this bearing. There's a collar, in case you've taken it all off. There's another bearing. Let's go ahead and just put this down for fun. There's another bearing here that you can oil. And if you were having trouble with your bearings and you wanted to go ahead and replace them, this is exactly how you would do that. There's also some tension washers here on the bottom end, which has to do with drag sensitivity. All right, we'll put the bearing back on. Go ahead and grab our ferrule here. Then we have that next bearing shim that goes on the top. This bearing goes in the cavity on this side of the spool. Now this is nothing other than a click tongue. So you can see the ridges And that click tongue that we were just showing you is exactly where that is going to line up. Let's go ahead and seat that. Now I have the drag washer. There's a little bit of a ridge that's been worn here from where the plate is. And this is two-sided drag washer. So I'm going to actually turn this around so that we have a fresh face on the drag washer for this service. I'm going to put Cal's Universal Drag Grease on there. Use my gloved hand to work it into both sides. And you don't want to glob it on. You don't need a lot going on in there. You just want to get it to the point where you can wipe it off, still see the ridges in the drag washer, and then we can seat that into the spool, because the spool has these little grooves that are holding that on. Okay, once you've reset your drag washer, make sure you take that spring that came off. That goes next. Then our assembly up top here goes. Pressure plate and those two little bearing washers go on, and we can line up our plastic plate that's going to hold that assembly in. Grab one of those screws. These are little Phillips head screws, which is why I use the micro driver here. It's important to have the right bit when you're putting these things in. A big bit obviously won't fit, but a small bit will strip it. So you need to be careful to use the right tool for the application. Now, interestingly enough, the Accurate Series does actually tell you how to service this on their website, but not the Fury. They didn't do the Fury for some reason. They did the Volume, but that's okay. And I think they actually put it on YouTube. And there's what I mean by dropping a screw. So I'm trying to find the other one first. And then we'll go find the one that hit the floor. So a lot of folks wonder what I have on my floor. I have a clear plastic shield, kind of an office furniture shield, and the reason for that is exactly what just happened there. I can go find the piece when the piece goes off. I'll be back in a second. Well, fortunately that didn't take long to find. Kind of fell at my feet, which is a good thing. But hopefully you're not working with shag carpet. That's probably telling my age, but hopefully you're not working with shag carpet underneath you. Those are great hiding places for these little things. Alright, so we just got to find the last one, get that in there. And we can turn our attention to the gear side of the reel. It's going in a little. It seems like you want it to cross strip, so let's get it in the right way. Okay, that's the assembly so far. What I like to do is I like to put the pinion gear into the side plate assembly rather than trying to match it up later. Check the teeth, make sure it's okay. This one's got a square side on it, which goes into the collar here. So let's get that mounted just like that, and then we're just going to put that off to the side. There's a little plastic shield here. All that does is pull out. You can push the main gear through. It has a post in the main gear. It's been a little time since this one's been wiped down, cleaned, and lubed, which is why Captain Paul sent it to me. We'll get that cleaned up. I'm using a paper towel. You don't need to use much of anything in terms of grit on these. I do notice that there is a little bit of coagulation there, so I'm going to go with a light piece of steel wool. I'm not quite sure what that is. It's probably just dried grease. So let's get that out of the way while we can. There we go. That's in good condition. Just going to lay that down for a moment. On the inside we can see that the old greases have kind of spun out and are kind of just collecting along the side here. So let's go ahead and do the same thing we did on the other part of the frame. Just clean it all up. Just using a paper towel, that's all that's needed here. That's a beautiful piece of machined metal there. This one looks sealed. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on it, but it looks sealed. You have your anti-reverse clutch in there, and as the sign says here, no oil. You want to clean up the face of the main gear. There's grease on there, but it has no purpose. It was in the teeth, I'm sure, and in the teeth it spun out over time. Check the teeth of the main gear, make sure they're all even. They are. I'm going to grab some fishing reel grease here. I use Penn Precision reel grease for that. Get a good coating on there. It's been a while. Let's make sure we keep it greased. And we'll be ready pretty much for reassembly. It's not that difficult a project. Make sure you get the grease on the shaft on the back. Then I like to hold that shaft in while I'm pushing the main gear in. You can get ahead of yourself pushing the shaft through and then lose the squaring. This is that little plastic collar that's on top of the anti-reverse gear. Since it popped out, we'll go ahead and give that a little bit of a clean on the inside as well. It's a Teflon one. It's self-lubricating. You don't need to oil it or grease it or anything. Just simply reinstall. Push that down. And that's the back end, short of reinstalling this. Those two points go between the pins. Like that. And it just simply snaps in. And now we can reinstall. Okay, let's take our spool assembly that we've had laying on the side here. Grab it by the points and now merge the studs with the slot. You may need to move the spool a little bit. There we go. Just take your time with it, be patient. All right, now the case goes on. It's kind of that simple, right? So we had 2 long screws, 2 short screws when we took this off. You want to do the same thing here. You want to align your case and the screw holes. There's 2 of them here, there's 2 here. That's kind of what you're aiming for. Through the visual, and as you know, this was under pressure when we took it off, so put some finger pressure back on. This one gets a long one, and you can do a visual here to sight when you're in line with the hole. There we go. I actually heard a snap. I didn't see a stud that holds it, but I did hear a snap. Let's get that first one back in. That'll generally hold it. You don't have to over tighten it at this point, but you do need to get it to hold. And we had a small one that went on the other side. It's in there already, so let's go ahead and put that in. That one's actually the tie-down screw for the handle. We should have a small one down here again. Go ahead and tighten that one up. Now you're using that Torx number 7 bit. There we go. Come back and tighten this one down to the level that it needs to. And then the last long one goes right next to it, right under the word free. And it's important, take your pictures here, or at least take mental images here, because that's where you need to know when you have longs and shorts which belong where. Okay, take your free lever over to the free spool position. You'll see that it spins very nice and easily. That's kind of the game here. We're going to take the adjuster. You've got the 2 studs, and you have a hex on this one. So what you need to do is you need to find that ramp. Remember what I said about that ramp. And when you're in free spool, you need to be aligning these 2 studs on this with the low points on the ramp. I think that's about right there. Then you can actually move the handle just to make sure that you're in the right position. think we have it. We'll find out. And you take your main preset knob here. Nope, I don't have that right. Three and 2 and 1. Okay, flip your lever over to the free spool side. Notice the hex and notice where those studs are on the back. So that stud is got to go into the low point of the ramp, which I'm looking is right about there. And you'll know you have it right when you have a small gap here. If you got anything more than that gap, then you don't have it in the right position. You need to kind of just play around with it. Put your preset lever on. Give it a spin. Make sure it's spinning nicely. It is. Go ahead and throw it and see if you're turning your handle. If you're not turning your handle, you don't have enough tension on it. Come on back to free spool. Give it a spin. Come on up. And now we're turning the handle. You can see the drive is moving now. So that's about right in terms of the settings. All right, there's 2 washers that go on next. And our handle goes on. Now don't be afraid if your handle is not fully in yet. That main gear still has play in it until you lock down your handle. So go ahead and get the handle positioned over that 4-corner of the gear. Start your nut. Now I know I have a nut wrench that actually works with this one. So we'll go ahead and move this around a little bit. And you want this one tight. You'll feel it when it bottoms out. There we go. Felt it when it bottoms out. And probably just a little bit of an extra turn here so that we're clear for those set screws. These set screws are the Allen key wrench. Guess I got to move that to the other side for the drive. In one and the other, and this reel will be done. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do like this kind of thing, I'm going to ask you to subscribe. And if you subscribe, please hit the notifications button so that you don't miss any of the episodes that I post. I work on all kinds of reels, and it's quite a variety, and that's actually what keeps me going. I'll deal with lever drag saltwater reels one day, and low-profile bait casters another, and then a vintage reel the next, and then we'll go over to spinning reels. I never know what's coming into my shop. So there you go. First. And let's see what we got in full. Yep, we are there. So that's it. Beautiful spinning reel. Took all that old grease out of there, put it in. And finally, if you have a reel that needs service, like Captain Paul, just contact me on the information through the email on the business card that follows. I'll be happy to provide you with the service information. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.